राम राम हरे राम कृष्ण कृष्ण
Hare
जय
Krishna, Hare
हरे
Krishna, dear devotees. Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvatamsha नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादिगौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा Okay, we'll continue the prayer followed by reading from Prabhupada Lilamrit. Anybody would like to sing today in Mangalarti melody? Shri Balabhadra Stotra Kavach by Shri Vyasadev. Okay, we'll continue then and we'll read the translations. Golokadhamadhipati Parishvaraha Parishu Mam Patu Pavitra Kirtana Bhumandalam Sarshapavadvilakshate Yanmodni Mam Patu Sabhumi Mandale Senasu Mam Rakshatu Sirapanir Yudhe Sada Rakshatu Mam Halicha Durgeshu Chavyan Musali Sadamam Vanishu Sankarshana Adi Deva Kalinda Javegaharo Jaleshu Nilambaro Rakshatu Mam Sadagnau Vayau Charamo Patukhe Balascha Maharnave Nantavapu Sadamam Shrivasudevo Vatu Parvateshu Sahasrashirsha Chamahavivade Rogeshu Mam Rakshatu Rohineyo Mam Kamapalo Vatu Vavipatsu Kamat Sada Rakshatu Dhenu Kari Krodhat Sada Mam Dvida Prahari Lobhat Sada Rakshatu Balvalarir Mohat Sada Mam Kila Magadhari Prata Sada Rakshatu Vrashnidhurya Prane Sada Mam Mathura Purendra Madhyandine Gopasakha Prapatu Sar Swarat Parane Vatu Mam Sadaiva Sayam Fanendro Vatu Mam Sadaiva Parat Paro Rakshatu Mam Pradoshe Purne Nishithe Chaduranta Viryaha Pratyusha Kale Vatu Mam Sadaiva Vidikshu Mam Rakshatu Revati Patir Dikshu Pralambari Yat Dudvaha Urdhvam Sadamam Balabhadrarat Tatha Samantad Baladeva Evahi Anta Sadavyat Purushottamo Bahir Nagendro Lilo Vatumam Mahabala Sadantaratma Chavasan Hari Swayam Prapatu Purna Parameshwaro Mahan Devasuranam Bhayanashanam Cha Hutashanam Papachayendranam विनाशनं विघ्नघटस्य वेद्धि सिद्धासनं वर्मवरं बलस्य हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री बलभद्र स्तोत्र कवच की जय। श्रील व्यासदेव की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Okay, anybody would like to read the translation?
I can go ahead, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna. May Lord Balarama, who is the master of Goloka, who is the supreme controller for all controllers, and whose fame is spotless, protect me. May Lord Balarama, who on his head holds the earth as if it were a single mustard seed, protect me in this world. May Lord Balarama protect me when I am surrounded by many armies. May Lord Balarama, who holds a plough, always protect me in battle. May Lord Balarama, who holds a club, always protect me in many fortresses. May Lord Balarama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, protect me in the forest. May Lord Balarama, who wears blue garments and who stopped the Yamuna, always protect me in fire. May Lord Balrama protect me in the wind. May Lord Balrama protect me in the sky. May Lord Balrama, who is Lord Ananta himself, always protect me in the great ocean. May Lord Balrama, who is Vasudeva's son, protect me on mountains. May Lord Balrama, who has 1,000 heads, protect me in great disputes. May Lord Balrama, who is Rohini's son, protect me from diseases. May Lord Balrama, who fulfills desires, protect me from catastrophes. May Lord Balrama, who is the enemy of Dhenuksura, who always protect me from lust. May Lord Balrama, who killed Divida, always protect me from anger. May Lord Balrama, who is the enemy of Balwala, always protect me from greed. May Lord Balrama, who is the enemy of Jarasan, always protect me from illusion. May Lord Balrama, who is the best of the Rinishis, always protect me at sunrise. May Lord Balrama, who is the king of Mathura city, always protect me in the morning. May Lord Balrama, who is a friend of the Gopas, always protect me at midday. May Lord Balrama, who is supremely independent, always protect me in the afternoon. May Lord Balrama, who is the king of serpents, always protect me at sunset. May Lord Balrama, who is the greatest and the greatest, always protect me in the evening. May Lord Balrama, whose power is invincible, always protect me in the middle of the night. May Lord Balrama always protect me at every sunrise. May Lord Balrama, who is the master of Revati, protect me from every direction. My Lord Balrama, who is the enemy of Pralamba, protect me from every direction. May Lord Balrama, who is the best of the Yadavas, protect me from below. May Lord Balrama always protect me from above. May Lord Balrama protect me from near and far. May Lord Balrama protect me everywhere. May Lord Balrama, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, always protect me from within. May Lord Balrama, who enjoys pastimes as the King of Serpents, protect me from without. May Lord Balrama, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul residing in everyone's heart, always protect me. Please note that this Kavacha of Lord Balrama is the best of armors. It destroys the fears of the demigods and demons. It is a blazing fire that burns up the fuel of a host of sins. It is the death of a host of obstacles. It is the abode of spiritual perfection. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Yes. So may Lord Balaram protect us. Like Vasudev was saying, may He protect us in disputes and battles. And these are not just physical disputes and battles, right? There are also disputes and battles and diseases that we have in our mind. And may Lord Balaram protect us from all these, because in this day and age especially that we live in, it's bombarded with information, bombarded with so much of distractions everywhere, and so many different opinions, thoughts that come our way. It's very easy to get distracted all these anarthas that he's talking about can easily come up. The doubt, lust, anger, greed, and all these diseases of the mind is also very, very difficult to overcome. So may Lord Balaram protect us from that, because like we saw yesterday in Prabhupada Leelamrit, Prabhupada's disciples, they're making some silly mistakes, they're making some blunders, but they're also getting swayed by differing information or comments that they were receiving from other people, especially the ones in India, hearing from other devotees and kind of minimizing the significance of the spiritual master, or the tendency to jump over the spiritual master, right? Like some of them were trying to see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had given that Srila Prabhupada has not revealed yet, right? So trying to directly jump over Srila Prabhupada. So all these are diseases of the mind. The mind will always sway here and there, and it will be easily influenced if we don't have a strong faith, implicit faith in the spiritual master, Shraddha. And with Shraddha and by following the Bhajana Kriya that they have given, then we will develop the Nishtha, the determination. If we don't follow the practice, don't follow the process, then it is very easy to get swayed. And that is the disease of the mind. So that is the protection that Balaramji gives us. So let's continue. Chapter 31, Threat Against ISKCON. So these are all different threats that are coming. And we'll see what Prabhupada is doing next. Yesterday, he was instructing very gravely to his disciples of why it is important to chant, to follow the two vows that we take when we get initiated. And even before initiation, of course, we are taking Harinam. There's no limitation that we cannot chant the Mahamantra before, but especially after we take initiation, the two important vows that we take are to chant 16 rounds every day and to follow the 4 regulative principles. So those are vows that we have taken in front of our spiritual master, in front of the Vaishnavas, and in front of the deities, and those should not be forgotten for even a single day of our life. And we saw some disciples were not following that strictly, and that really affected Prabhupada. And that is what he said as the root cause of why his disciples were not able to get the purity in practicing their devotional life. So that is very important. And yes, Mayadevi as the servant of the Lord was testing. And this is kind of a filter criteria. There may be thousands who may come in, lakhs who may come in, but like Rupa Goswami says, only very few. Actually, he says only 1 out of a lakhs will become pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada was. And by following him, we can at least make our sincere attempt to just follow his instructions. And by his mercy and by Lord's mercy, we can make advancement. Okay, so let's continue here. The recent events began to hamper Prabhupada's writing. He had been working quickly in Los Angeles and had recently finished the second and final volume of Krishna. And on the very tape on which he had dictated the last chapter of Krishna, he had immediately begun a summary of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Gradually, however, his writing stopped. Karandhara. Prabhupada's translating would require a great deal of concentration. He would have 2 or 3 of his big Bhagavatam volumes opened up, and sometimes a number of other small books, which he would refer to for something or other. He would sit wearing his glasses and speaking into his dictating machine, and he would be completely absorbed in reading. Sometimes he would make a brief note, then look into one of his books, then open another book, turn back to another page, make a note, and then dictate. It required a great deal of concentration. I think that's why Prabhupada did most of it at night, after he would rise from his late evening nap. From 1 or 2 in the morning until 6 or 7 in the morning, he would be absorbed. It was quiet at that time, and he could become absorbed. But when Prabhupada became disturbed about the problems in ISKCON, it inhibited his work. He was spending his time discussing with visiting devotees, or myself, or whoever was there. Then he would spend more time thinking matters over or pondering the problem, and he wouldn't be able to concentrate on his translating. These difficulties disturbed him, and he would think about them and say, I have not been able to concentrate. I have been thinking about this problem. Although the spiritual master suffers for his disciples' mistakes, Prabhupada's perspective was not simply negative. He continued chanting and lecturing in the temple and inviting the leaders of his movement to visit him in the ideal center of Los Angeles. But he also corrected the diseased mentality wherever it appeared. When, for example, Guru Das wrote from London to say that they had allowed an Indian guest to lecture in the temple while sitting on Prabhupada's Vyasasana, Prabhupada immediately wrote back, correcting him. I am surprised how you allowed Mr. Parikh to sit on the Vyasasana. You know that Vyasasana is meant for the representative of Vyasadeva, the spiritual master. But Mr. Parikh does not come in the parampara to become the representative of Vyas. Neither does he have any sound knowledge of Vaishnava principles. I understand from your letter that sometimes discussions on Aurobindo philosophy are done by Mr. Parikh from the Vyasasana. So I am a little surprised. How did you allow like this? I think you should rectify immediately all these mistakes as stated by you in the last 2 lines of your letter. I think the best thing to do is to stop his class. Nonsense ought not to be tolerated. In a letter from Paris, Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada philosophical questions about the perfection of the spiritual master, and Prabhupada answered fully but sternly. A spiritual master is always liberated. In any condition of his life, he should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. This position of the spiritual master is achieved by 3 processes. One is called sadhana siddha, that means one who is liberated by executing the regulative principles of devotional service. Another is kripa siddha, one who is liberated by the mercy of Krishna or his devotee. And another is nitya siddha, who is never forgetful of Krishna throughout his whole life. These are the 3 features of the perfection of life. So far, Narad Muni is concerned. In his previous life, he was a maidservant's son. But by the mercy of the devotees, he later on became Siddha. And next life, he appeared as Narada, with complete freedom to move anywhere by the grace of the Lord. So, even though he was in his previous life a maidservant's son, there was no impediment in the achievement of his perfect spiritual life. Similarly, any living entity who is conditioned can achieve the perfectional stage of life by the above mentioned processes, and the vivid example is Narada Muni. So, I do not know why you have asked about my previous life, whether I was subjected to the laws of material nature. So, even though accepting that I was subjected to the laws of material nature, does it hamper in my becoming spiritual master? What is your opinion? From the life of Narada Muni, it is distinct that although he was a conditioned soul in his previous life, there was no impediment of his becoming the spiritual master. This law is applicable not only to the spiritual master, but to every living entity. So far I am concerned, I cannot say what I was in my previous life, but one great astrologer calculated that I was previously a physician and my life was sinless. Besides that, to corroborate the statement of Bhagavad Gita, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashta Vijayate, which means an unfinished yogi takes birth in rich family or born of a Shuchi or pious father. By the grace of Krishna, I got these 2 opportunities in the present life, to be born of a pious father and brought up in one of the richest aristocratic families of Calcutta, Kashinath Mullik. The Radha Krishna deity in this family called me to him, and therefore last time when I was in Calcutta, I stayed in that temple along with my American disciples. Although I had immense opportunities to indulge in the 4 principles of sinful life because I was connected with a very aristocratic family, Krishna always saved me, and throughout my whole life, I do not know what is illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, or gambling. So far my present life is concerned, I do not remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. Prabhupada thought some of his readers had become entangled in ISKCON management and were trying to gain control for themselves. In the classes, he would speak of this only indirectly, as he had when he had exposed that the devotees weren't chanting and reading enough. Consequently, most devotees were unaware of Prabhupada's anxiety, but occasionally while sitting in his room or in the garden, Prabhupada would express his concern. He wanted his disciples to manage ISKCON, but to do so they must be pure. Only then would he be able to concentrate on writing books. In June, he wrote to Brahmananda, "Now, my desire is that I completely devote my time in the matter of writing and translating books, and arrangements should now be done that our society be managed automatically. I think we should have a central governing body for dealing with important matters. I have already talked with Gargamuni about this. So if you come back by the Rath Yatra festival, we can have a preliminary meeting at San Francisco in this connection." In July, Prabhupada visited San Francisco for the 4th annual ISKCON Rath Yatra. It was the biggest festival ever, with 10,000 people joining in the procession through Golden Gate Park to the beach. Prabhupada felt ill and didn't join the parade until about midway. He danced in the road before the carts as 100 disciples encircled him, chanting and playing kartals and mridangas. Afterward, Prabhupada wanted to ride in the cart, just as he had done the year before, but some of his disciples restrained him. A gang of hoodlums, they said, had caused trouble earlier, and for Prabhupada to ride on the cart might be dangerous. He disagreed, but finally relented and rode in his car to the beach. At the Family Dog Auditorium on the beach, Prabhupada began his lecture. "I want to thank you all for coming. Although I am not well, I felt it my responsibility to come, as you have so kindly attended Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra festival. I felt it my duty to come and see you and address you." His voice was frail. Later in his apartment in San Francisco, Prabhupada complained that he had not been allowed to ride in the cart. As leader of the Hare Krishna movement, he should have ridden on the cart. Not only had his disciples refused him, but several disciples had prominently ridden on the cart, as if in his place. Prabhupada asked the many temple presidents assembled for the Rath Yatra to meet and discuss forming a governing body to manage ISKCON. The devotees met and then reported that they thought only one of them should be elected the chief representative. They hadn't understood. The strength should be in a group, Prabhupada said, not in a single individual. Since he was ISKCON's founder Acharya, what need was there for another single leader? He asked them to meet again. Returning to LA, Prabhupada announced he would award several of his disciples the sannyas order. The devotee community excitedly prepared for the festival. The sannyasis, Prabhupada said, would leave the temples to travel and preach. It was an unprecedented change for ISKCON, a sensation, and the devotees loved it. Although Prabhupada was awarding sannyas to some of his most advanced disciples, he also said the sannyas initiation was to purify the disciples and to rid them of their entanglement in material desires. He set the initiation for the end of July, 2 weeks later. One day in Los Angeles, a visiting devotee speaking with Prabhupada in his room humbly asked why Prabhupada hadn't answered his questions in a recent letter. Prabhupada remembered no such letter. Inquiring from his secretary, Prabhupada discovered that his secretary often showed incoming letters to certain temple leaders, who at their discretion would sometimes withhold letters they considered petty or too disturbing. Prabhupada was outraged. How dare they come between him and his other disciples? How could they presume to make such decisions on their own? How could a disciple censor his spiritual master's mail? Although Prabhupada reprimanded the devotees involved, the incident only increased the already heavy burden on his mind. Again, the thought of spiritual disease transmitted in letters from India disturbed him. He found no one close to him in Los Angeles with whom he could speak confidentially about the serious minimization of the spiritual master. As his anxiety affected him bodily, he fell ill and stopped eating. Karandhara. I had heard some things, but in the spirit of going on, it had all been glossed over, and Prabhupada didn't talk much about it either. One time, though, I was in his room right after the sannyasis had left Los Angeles, and he asked if I understood what had gone on. I said, well, I think so, but I didn't really know very much. At that time, the devotees who were going out on Sankirtana were in the alleyway chanting, and Prabhupada was at his desk. Hearing the Kirtana, he turned back, looking in the direction of the devotees below his window, and smiled. Then he turned to me. They are innocent, he said. Do not involve them in this business. Karandhara still didn't understand, and he wondered what not to involve them in. He did know, however, that a shadow was hanging over the heads of the sannyasis. Prabhupada requested 3 trusted disciples to come, be with him in Los Angeles. Rupanuga. I was in Buffalo and the phone rang. Someone said, Srila Prabhupada is on the telephone. I said, what? You're kidding. It wasn't Srila Prabhupada, but it was his servant, Devananda. Devananda said, Srila Prabhupada wants you to come to Los Angeles. I said, what's wrong? He said, well, he doesn't want Then he said, Srila Prabhupada wants to talk about it now. So Srila Prabhupada got on the phone, and as soon as I heard him on the line, I paid my obeisances. Then I said, Srila Prabhupada, what's wrong? He said, you didn't know I was ill? I said, no. He said, you should come immediately. Then I said, Srila Prabhupada, let me speak to Devananda. I didn't know what was going on. So I asked Devananda, tell me what's going on. Then he said, Srila Prabhupada said, he will talk with you when you come. He will explain everything. Bhagavan Das. One day after coming back from Sankirtana, I received a call from Rupanuga, who told me he was on his way to Los Angeles, having received a call from Prabhupada that there was some disturbance there. He couldn't tell me more, but he said he would call me when he returned. This set my mind reeling. I sat in the chair, hot and sweaty after coming back from Sankirtan, my mind absorbed in thinking of Prabhupada and what could be going on. I called Los Angeles to talk to Prabhupada's secretary Devananda, who told me he couldn't really say anything at that point. I was hoping somehow or other I would get some more information of the situation, but after waiting some time, I went in to take my shower. I was in the shower when all of a sudden, someone banged on the door. Prabhupada is on the telephone. He wants to speak with you. I was sure there was some misunderstanding. How is it possible that the spiritual master could be on the telephone? Anyway, I ran out of the shower, all wet, and picked up the telephone and said, hello? There was a long pause. Then all of a sudden I heard Srila Prabhupada's voice on the other end. Bhagavan Das? Yes, I said. Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. How can I serve you? I was completely stunned. Then Prabhupada's voice came slowly on the phone. There are many things that you will do, but the first thing is that you must come here immediately. I said, of course, Srila Prabhupada, I will be there right away. And with that, we both hung up. I managed to gather the money together to take the flight to Los Angeles. And when I got on the plane in Detroit, it just so happened that Rupanuga was also on the same plane. We sat together and discussed what could possibly be happening in Los Angeles to cause Srila Prabhupada so much distress. When we arrived at the airport, Karandara picked us up and told us that some of the older devotees had been plotting against Prabhupada, and that day Prabhupada had given several of the men sannyas and sent them away to preach. This was all quite amazing to me, and I didn't really know what to make of it. When we came into Prabhupada's room, he looked distressed and was rubbing his head, complaining of the blood pressure that was caused by the conspiracy. Tamal Krishna. I had written Srila Prabhupada a lengthy letter from Paris, describing how we wanted to expand our preaching efforts in Europe, and suddenly I received a telegram from His Divine Grace that said, received your letter 26 July. Come Los Angeles immediately. I was quite surprised, and I remembered disentangling myself that very day and leaving that night, even though I was in charge of the activities there. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I found Rupanuga, Bhagavan, Kirtananda Swami, and Karandara. I was in a very enthusiastic, blissful mood from having done so much Sankirtan, and I had no idea of any difficulty. But these devotees were all in a heavy, sober, somber mood, and they tried to explain to me what was going on. But actually, I could not get a very clear understanding. I had arrived in the late afternoon, and I could not see Srila Prabhupada. Early in the next morning, when Prabhupada was informed that I had arrived, he called for me before Mangala Arti. I went up to his quarters, and when I came through the door, Prabhupada was sitting in his room with his head downward. He looked up and he appeared to be almost ill. He was gaunt and looked very sorrowful. He said meekly, just as I was bowing down, have they told you? Of course, I hadn't really understood everything, but in reply to his question, I said, yes, they have told me some things. And Prabhupada said, can you help me? So I answered, yes, Srila Prabhupada. He said, can you take me out of here? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Of course, I didn't feel that I could help Srila Prabhupada, but I could understand that I had to say yes. How can you say no, I won't? But how far could I help? It's like lifting the heaviest object in the world. The Guru is so heavy, and yet I had to say yes. So Prabhupada asked me next, where will you take me? And I said, well, we can go to Florida. He said, no, that is not far enough. I said, I can take you to Europe. He said, no, that also will not be good. The problem may be there also. So anyway, we didn't conclude where to go at that time, but Prabhupada said, it is like a fire here. I must leave at once. It has become like a fire. Okay, I think we'll pause here. 6:30. Yes, so we see, once we start on any path, once we advance, the pride comes, right? So all these anarthas that we are praying to Shri Balaramji, because these anarthas are very, very subtle, and we never know, where it is hiding, because it is there, and only until we achieve purity, they will be there hiding in our heart. And if we don't have the purity of practicing our sadhana, then it will be hard to get rid of these anarthas. So Kam, Krodha, Lobh, Moh, Lust, Anger, Greed, illusion, pride, all of these are there in every practicing devotee's hearts. And yeah, we see not everything was rosy, right? Prabhupada struggled so much when he was in India earlier on, and because of his purity of practice and his surrender to his Guru Maharaj, he was able to reach where he had reached so far. But even now, we see as the movement was growing, there were other challenges that are coming up now and again. So even a pure devotee of the Lord has to go through so many tests and tribulations. So that is Krishna's way of keeping everybody pure. But again, all of this is kind of a leela, right? That Prabhupada isn't orchestrating by the mercy of Krishna so that his disciples can learn, because Prabhupada knew his time was limited on this planet and he wanted to build this movement with purity and leave the legacy that his disciples can follow by how Prabhupada lived his life. So again, all of these are orchestrated by the Lord and the spiritual master so that these instructions can be given to the disciples. And yeah, we see some or many of Prabhupada's disciples did pass in these tests. There are some who were left behind because of the lack of surrender, lack of following the sadhana, following the practice that Prabhupada had given. So again, these are the two directions. This is like the T that we were talking about a few days before, the T junction that comes in our life. There are only two ways. Either you turn left, follow the path with purity, with sincerity on the bhautik, the spiritual path, or we get entangled and we go away on the other opposite direction. So the choice is there. The Lord has given that free will to everybody. Some choose it, some don't. But again, if we are sincere, if we are following what our acharyas have given us, then again, their mercy will always be there with us. And even when we come across these difficult situations, sometimes it is not in our power to choose the right thing, because the mind, like Arjuna says to Krishna, is so powerful. Even though we don't want to do some things, we are forced to do something by the mind, right? So that mind can only be controlled by sometimes in those situations by the grace, not by our own endeavor. And that grace, that kripa of the acharyas is very, 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 very powerful. And that is the only thing that can save us in those situations. So yeah, there is so much of noise in the outer world that sometimes we lose our inner voice that is there. So that voice that comes from within is so powerful. But when we are cluttered by the anarthas, then the noise outside of the outside world kind of overpowers that inner pure voice. So yeah, very nice instructions. I think these are these are like life instructions that Prabhupada is giving us. So we should sincerely read them, reread them, and through these examples that we are learning. Sometimes we make mistakes and we learn. Sometimes we have to learn from others' mistakes. So these mistakes have already been made. We have to learn from those mistakes. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything? No. Aarti Mataji, Shamakaruna Mataji, anything from you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So that's what I I wanted to tell this, that there are so many anarthas in our heart and that to be purified. So this is Kali Yuga, that Prabhupada wanted to remove all those anarthas in our heart and purify us. But in spite of this, and there was so much of conspiracy and so much of disturbances in the propagating the ISKCON thing and ISKCON's name. and following, and how the people were so mesmerized by the money, I think, so that he was getting. So I feel so much of anarthas in our heart. That's what I felt, Prabhuji. So though Prabhupada tried to do so much things to clarify the doubts, and how he was being taken for a ride by many people. So in this aspect, he was so careful, and he was, in spite of being so strict and disciplined, but he had to face even that. So that's what I felt, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah, like this, like the Rath Yatra, they didn't have him be on the Rath, but his disciples were easily on the Rath, right? And like just thinking about these things is just like it's giving shockwaves.
Yes.
Yeah, and we see
And
even now, like this Ethnic philosophy that's going on is the same thing, right? We are jumping over their spiritual masters, thinking they're just belittling the significance of spiritual master, of gurus, all the Vaishnavas, right? So the Ritvik philosophy is exactly doing the same thing. So that is a serious
yeah,
offense, aparadha. That those who are initiated by other disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they are now claiming that their gurus are have fallen down, even though they have done so much for the movement and they're continuing to do, but because they have the they have the mentality to lord it over now, right? They want to make it their own movement.
correct.
Yeah.
Everybody wants position, Prabhuji, and name and fame. So,
Mm.
in the same aspect, even Prabhupada faced so many difficulties, but in spite of so many difficulties, he came out of it, and because of Krishna's mercy and his dedication, now we are able to carry on with these instructions.
Mm. Yeah, initially it must seem like everything is going their way, right? They won
Mm-hmm.
the court case and they're doing
Mm-hmm.
very well, all these Ritvik movements, but again, that is like a battle, right? Even
Correct.
like seeing the movie, the Narasimha movie we saw the other day. Yeah, Hiranyakashipu also became very famous. They had pride, power, position, everything. But
Correct.
yeah, that is only temporary. The
All
ultimate
temporary.
ultimate result, ultimate victory will only be to the pure-hearted, to the sincere disciples, the sincere devotees. So yeah, Lord is just testing them. This is just to kind of sway them away more and more in these small battles. When they win these small battles and they get some name, fame, power, position, they will be even more disillusioned.
Yeah.
There will be more illusion to fall away. Yeah.
Even we all went yesterday, Prabhuji, in Indianapolis to the movie.
Oh, very nice.
So that power, it makes them that, when as soon as they get the power, I am God and I am everything, and I am independent. So, so that power, and this one gives them the more, this one, they lose their senses and they feel that, okay, I can do anything, whatever I wanted. So, in this aspect, even Prabhupada has to face so many problems in his life, though he was trying to uh, tell his, instruct his disciples in a proper way, but
Yeah.
things went hayward.
Yeah. But again, everything
Thank
happens by Lord's will.
Mish.
So
Yes,
whatever
yes,
is just
yes,
like a leela, and if we can learn from these instructions, that is the whole intent, right? So
correct.
what we learn out of these situations, because these situations will come even in our lives, have
Yeah,
already come in many of our
it's
lives.
already.
It's already there and
Yes.
continuing to be there. So, but yeah, we should learn from these instructions of Srila
It's
Prabhupada and pray. That is the most important thing, because
important thing. Yeah.
we don't have the power. The
No.
power only comes through the grace of the
Of
spiritual master.
spiritual master and Krishna's mercy to guide us within our heart how to go about in a proper way.
Yeah. So on this occasion of Balaram Purnima, Balaramji is our guide. That we always follow our spiritual master and the disciplic succession, Guru Parampara, and then may His grace be there with us, that we continue to follow that with sincerity. Yeah, we should also have that endeavor. I mean, we can always pray for the grace, but we also have to do our own kriya. Then the kripa will come, right? Like we should have the patrata, they say. We should have the qualification. So that qualification comes by when we show sincerity in our endeavor. Then the Lord also bestows His grace.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Hare
thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji, for your wonderful thoughts and reflections. We'll end
Hare
here.
Krishna. Have a blessed day, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji.